And now we have Harry MOSKOFF here to delve deeper into these very interesting topics. He's a real-life Indiana Jones, the writer and producer of the Ark Report, a documentary film following the story of the Ark of the Covenant, as well as an expert on all the underground tunnels and everything in Jerusalem. Just living the life. It's good to see you again, Harry.
Thank you, Emily. Good to be here.
So I know we have a lot to cover, but let's kind of continue on the theme of the real Mount Sinai that Ryan was just talking about, because I know this is something that you also do a lot of research to get into. What are your thoughts on this theory?
First of all, I agree with Ryan in many ways, with the theory that there's no question. And actually, I'm not the expert about this particular field. There's a Rabbi Alexander Hool, H-O-O-L. He's done a bunch of research. But Ryan's theory is something I do agree with. I just don't agree with the exact mountain. It's a mountain range, so there's a bunch of mountains in that range. But Mount Sinai was definitely in Saudi Arabia. Not where the monastery is, and not where it's the conventional opinion. But if you follow the Bible, similar to what Ryan was saying, and you actually map everything out, you will find that yes, if you're talking about a people of like 2 million people crossing over the Red Sea in sort of like this semicircle type of fashion. You get to Saudi Arabia, and then from there, there's a whole bunch of different regions. They started Midbar SHUR, according to the Torah, the Bible. Then they go to a bunch of different places. They end up in Refidim. 12 kilometers from Refidim is where you have the Sinai, this mountain range called Horeb, Al-Horeb, which is actually very interesting because that name, Horeb, is what we have in Hebrew. It's actually called in the Torah, Har Horeb. Like we say, Zachor, every day we say, Zachor Yom Shemanata Lifnei Hashem, the day that we stood before God, B'Horeb, in the mountain of Horeb. So this mountain, Jebel Harb, it's called, H-A-R-B, is actually, believe it or not, I don't think it's just coincidence, part of this Harb mountain range. And,
wow.
Yeah.
So how would that explain, kind of the journey from Egypt to there? Like, do you think that explains away the journey that the Israelites went through the Sinai Peninsula at all?
Well, if you follow it, we know this is 3,333 years ago, actually, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. So for the time that the ancient Israelites left Egypt, it was 50 days, right, from Passover to the time we received the Torah, Matan Torah, Shavuot. And then on the 7th day, right, we actually crossed 7 days after leaving Egypt, we crossed the Israelites crossed the Red Sea. We still celebrate that today. And then it talks about what, the journeys from there. It was a day here, it was a day there, without getting into particulars, until we end up in Refidim. And then from there, a day until, which is about 12.5 kilometers or so, until you get to this mountain range. And so, yeah, if you actually follow it and map it out, we don't get to Sinai. You're right, in a way. We actually went north a little bit, and we were supposed to go, the Israelites were supposed to go 3 days straight to Jerusalem. But because of different things that happened, and later on the spies, etc., we ended up being 40 years in the desert.
Because of everybody's indiscretions, delays, kind of like what we're experiencing now, where everything is delayed. Also, talk a little bit about, about the Ark Report. I know you're continuing on this journey. You have other things up your sleeves. So what are your theories about the Ark of the Covenant and its location?
Oh, wow. Well, that's in the Temple Mount, for sure. Okay, it's a theory, but only Elijah the prophet really knows. But according to all my studies, there's over 50 tunnels underneath the Temple Mount. I've outlined several of them in the Ark Report book. And another book on the way, and as well as where some of the other temple vessels are. But the Ark of the Covenant itself is about 4 stories, I would say, below not exactly under the Dome of the Rock, but a little bit to the southwest. I prove it, the reasons why. It's very exciting. And we have, there are some significant landmarks, so to speak, to guide us to where that actually is.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you think we'll live to see the day that we'll actually be able to go in and try to prove it?
I do.
Yeah.
I think we will. We're getting really, really close. It's exciting.
And also, you believe that even that was there more than one ark, that it had been in other locations, that like theories of Ethiopia, that there's something there. Like, is it possible that there was more than one copy?
Perfect. You got it. You've been doing your
They have
research.
fax machines back then.
Yeah. Well, let's see. King Solomon sent a fax to Ethiopia. Yeah. What happened was similar to what you're saying, actually. Yeah. It seems like they actually sent a replica over to Ethiopia as a gift. It's not the real McCoy. It doesn't have the Ten Commandments in it. But there is something there in Axum. The real McCoy that Bezalel built is actually underneath the Temple Mount.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
Let's hope one day it could be proven. It would just be incredible to, put an answer to thousands of years of questions and wars.
And exactly.
Yeah.
Let's hope it brings peace and not
Exactly.
opposite.
That's the point, right? Any final thoughts about the whole Noah's Ark story and possibility? We do know that it was, ended. The Bible accounts are in Turkey, but you believe it's actually somewhere else in Turkey?
Well, not exactly. I do agree with Ryan that it is those, that mountain range would be the spot. They have the location, etc. The thing is, I'm a bit of a skeptic just because, 3D scans to me aren't going to cut it. Like you really need, something that's like a cartography, seismic cartography, proper geological equipment to go down and really see what it is. The other thing is, judging by what we just saw, the shape of the ark itself it wasn't, the way it's written in the Torah, there was no bow or stern like a boat. It didn't have to be steered anywhere. It was just a rectangle. So we're not seeing that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It could be another boat, but Noah's Ark was just a rectangle made to float.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That's, God was guiding it.
Yeah, exactly. There was no,
no bow,
coxswains and this, and there weren't sails. And
there's no front and back, you know what I'm saying? And the only other thing is that the sons of Noah himself and his sons, would have used the wood, to make furniture, to make shelter, it wouldn't have kept.
Right, right. And tell us a little bit about kind of the whole idea of this whole, popular science versus, science, like in explaining all of these phenomenon, biblical accounts.
Well, it's, again, sort of like what Ryan was saying, if you have the religious, people who are fanatically religious, they're going to say, oh, no matter what, it's here or it's there, just to try to prove the Bible. But you have science that's coming around that really is, nowadays we're trying to use that science to prove archaeology, to prove the essence of the Bible, that it's true, etc. But, you have a whole other sort of mode, a whole other way of thought that says that uses science to disprove theories like this. So you have the two coming together that are fighting with each other. Right.
Any other final thoughts that you'd like to add?
Well, I'd like to say that these things are coming out today for a reason. The Noah's Ark, things that are in the Vatican, that's part of my next book, Treasures of the Vatican, things that are, were never discovered before. And they're coming out for a reason, whether it's the Ark or Noah's Ark or Joseph's Ark. The things that we're talking about are huge in terms of spiritual, like inspiring people. And that's what people need nowadays. They're searching for proper leadership, for the truth, And we're going to see that happening. Wow. We just have to hang in there.
Exactly, and keep the faith.
Yeah.
Harry, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.